Know the top stories of the day. Understand the issues that matter. This is Manila Bulletin News on Web. Your quick rundown of top news in the country and around the world. Manila Bulletin, celebrating 120 years of timely stories and timeless truths. Be fully informed. Hi, I'm Barbie Atienza. This is MB Now, and here are your news on web. Metro Manila is now experiencing a serious surge of coronavirus disease cases, according to the latest report from the OCTA Research Group. In its report issued March 17, OCTA Research said the National Capital Region logged 2,231 new infections on March 16, representing a 78% increase in new cases compared to the previous week. The independent research team also noted that the reproduction number in the metropolis jumped to 1.96, its highest level since May 2020, and its positivity rate rose to 12%. The daily attack rate, or the percentage of a population that contracts the virus in a given period in the metro, was measured at 15.9 per 100,000 over the past 7 days, which classifies the region as high risk. Meanwhile, hospital bed occupancy for COVID-19 patients in the metro was at 49%, while intensive care unit occupancy was at 64% as of March 15. The research group also said that COVID-19 testing in the NCR increased by 18%, or 24,300 tests per day. In its report, OCTA said that very high attack rates were observed in the cities of Pasay, Makati, and Navotas, and Santiago in Isabela recently. On the other hand, OCTA said hospital occupancy in Quezon City, Makati, and Muntinlupa have exceeded 70%. With the latest surge of coronavirus cases hitting the country, Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles has issued a reminder that children must stay at home at all times except for essential travel. Nograles invoked the stay-at-home rule for minors under the community quarantine guidelines previously issued by the task force handling the pandemic response to help stem the spread of the coronavirus. If the essential travel of the minor involves going to another province, Nograles advised parents to know the health and safety protocols of the local government unit of destination prior to travel. He noted that some local officials might have specific quarantine rules on visiting minors in their areas. Nograles also advised against taking stopovers during the essential road trip to reduce the chance of coronavirus infection. Metro Manila mayors have imposed movement curbs, including imposing nighttime curfews, as well as requiring minors to stay indoors for the next 2 weeks. The movement controls have been enforced as cases continued to increase in the National Capital Region. The government will study whether or not to temporarily prohibit the entry of all foreigners into the country due to the surging coronavirus cases in the country. The proposed expansion of travel restrictions will be among the issues to be tackled by the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases on Thursday, March 18, according to presidential spokesman Harry Roque. The government is set to close the country's borders to foreigners and returning Filipinos who are not overseas workers from March 20 to April 11, amid the alarming rise in the country's coronavirus cases. Exempted from the travel restrictions are diplomats, medical personnel, and distressed overseas Filipino workers. Roque noted that the government has already ruled that only 1,500 incoming passengers could be allowed to enter the country per day as part of the travel restrictions. Apart from the travel restrictions, Roque said the IATF would also discuss the priority group A4 or the essential sectors, including uniformed personnel in the government's vaccine deployment plan. Another agenda of the IATF is the discussion on the issues relative to StaySafe.ph, the government's contact tracing program. Roque said the task force would also discuss the observations of the Metro Manila Council on the required COVID-19 ward allocation in government hospitals. The request for overseas deployment of Filipino workers to high-risk countries to be prioritized in the vaccination before deployment will also be high on the IATF agenda.
Pag-uusapan din po ang paglalagay ng temporary travel ban sa lahat ng foreign nationals na nagre-request na pumasok sa Pilipinas. Nauna na pong lilimitahan ng National Task Force to 1,500 ang pwedeng makapasok ng mga pasahero sa Pilipinas at limitado po ito sa mga OFWs at mga Pilipino.
The Commission on Elections has received more than 1 million applications for voter registration for the May 2022 polls since January this year. Based on the data posted by COMELEC Commissioner Rowena Guanzon on her Twitter, from January to March 13, 2021, the total registrants is at 1,092,484. Calabarzon has the highest number of applicants with 172,683, followed by the National Capital Region with 149,846, and Central Luzon with 104,669 applications. The Cordillera Administrative Region recorded the lowest number of applicants with 15,780, followed by Caraga with 32,330 and Mimaropa with 34,868 applicants. Qualified voters may register at the office of the election officer from Tuesdays to Thursdays from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Voter registration activities for the May 2022 polls started in January 2020, but was suspended on March 9, 2020 due to the coronavirus disease pandemic. It resumed on September 1, 2020 and will run until September 30, 2021. In Metro News, Navotas City Hospital closes outpatient department for 2 weeks. Quezon City government may increase fine for mask or face mask violators. And Mayor Zamora starts to hold meetings at open-air venues as precaution against COVID-19 in San Juan. More from this report.
Navotas City Hospital's outpatient department will be temporarily closed for 2 weeks after several of its staff tested positive for COVID-19. The closure of hospital's OPD was announced by Navotas Mayor Toby Tiangco on Twitter on Wednesday, March 17. In a tweet, Tiangco said many hospitals are already full of COVID-19 patients, which include medical frontliners. The mayor also called on the public to cooperate and to follow health and safety protocols to help curb the spread of the coronavirus. Quezon City Mayor Joy Belmonte said on Wednesday that the local government may consider increasing the fine for face mask violators, especially if they are repeat offenders. Belmonte said this can be the basis to increase the fine for those apprehended for not wearing face masks in the public places. Meanwhile, Belmonte said they will not increase the fine if the majority of violators will turn out to be first-time offenders. After recovering from coronavirus disease, San Juan City Mayor Francisco Zamora said on Wednesday that he is now starting to hold meetings at open-air venues as an additional precaution against the virus. Mayor Zamora said staying safe is not just about wearing masks and face shield and social distancing. It is also about proper ventilation and air circulation, which can help prevent COVID-19 transmission. Zamora tested positive from COVID-19 last March 1 when he went into self-quarantine at Cardinal Santos Medical Center. He reported back to office on March 15 after being discharged from the hospital and completing his 14-day quarantine.
Here are the top news in other parts of the country. Marinduque State College to produce 1,600 liters of alcohol for frontliners. Another ceremonial quincentennial marker unveiled in Homonhon. And BARMM Coast Guard District activated to enhance maritime law enforcement. Here are the details.
The Marinduque State College, or MSC, is set to produce 1,690 liters of locally sourced alcohol for frontliners. The MSC will start producing bioethanol from locally sourced tuba or coconut sap and nipa or mangrove palm sap using a distiller donated by Mariano Marcos State University. The sap was bought from farmers in Barangays Maligaya and Kaganhao in Boac, Marinduque and Barangay Bicas-Bicas in Buenavista, Marinduque. The project aims to provide natural alcohol extracted from local sources for free to Marinduque's frontliners, including Barangay Emergency Response Teams, the Philippine National Police, Citizen Armed Force Geographical Unit volunteers, medical professionals, vulnerable groups, and the college's employees. To mark the quincentennial anniversary of the Magellan Elcano Expedition's landing on the shores of Homonhon Island, another ceremonial marker was unveiled on Wednesday, March 17 in Barangay Pagbabangnan in Homonhon. Magellan and his men found refuge in Homonhon from March 17 to 25, 1521, where they had friendly encounter with 9 men from the nearby Suluan Island. Since October 2020, the Spanish Navy training ship Juan Sebastian Elcano have been tracing the route of the first circumnavigation of the world in 1521, also visited the island and will be heading to Manicani Island before it leaves for Cebu. The Philippine Coast Guard has activated the Coast Guard District Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, or CGDBARMM, to enhance maritime law enforcement in the waters of Mindanao. The activation of the CGDBARMM will further intensify the implementation of maritime law enforcement, maritime security, and maritime safety functions in the region for the protection of its people and their resources. The CGDBARMM is the 15th Coast Guard District across the country and the 6th Coast Guard District in the entire region of Mindanao.
In world news, Pfizer Biontech to accelerate COVID-19 vaccine delivery to EU. Japan to lift virus state of emergency in the Tokyo area. And landmarks around the world light up in green for St. Patrick's Day. Let's watch this report.
The European Commission proposed to accelerate the delivery of 10 billion doses of Pfizer-BioNTech's COVID-19 vaccine for the second quarter of 2021. The proposal came on heels of an agreement with the vaccine manufacturer, but it remains to be approved by the EU member states in joint steering board, the executive arm of EU said in a statement. The accelerated 10 million vaccine doses would be drawn forward for the 100 million doses ordered by the EU in its second contract with Pfizer-BioNTech. This delivery was originally scheduled for the third and fourth quarters of this year. The European Commission aims to vaccinate 70% of the EU's adult population this summer. Japan will lift a virus state of emergency in Tokyo area less than 5 months before the postponed Tokyo Olympics are due to begin, according to Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga. The official decision to end the state of emergency, which requests restaurants and bars to close by 8 in the evening, will be made after talks with experts on Tuesday, Suga said. Despite a spike in infections this winter, Japan has seen a comparatively small outbreak overall with around 8,700 deaths and has avoided imposing the blanket lockdown seen in other countries. The decision to lift the measure comes just days before the nationwide Olympic torch relay kicks off in northern Fukushima on March 25. But some healthcare professionals are concerned about the move as the number of cases in Tokyo is rising, with 409 cases recorded on Wednesday, the highest since mid-February. Landmarks in various countries lights up, building and famous sites in green to celebrate the St. Patrick's Day. The Liberty Statue of Budapest in Hungary, Dubai Palm Fountain in UAE, Sami Ofer Stadium in Israel, and Chimes Chapel in Singapore are just some of the countries participate for the event. St. Patrick's Day is a global celebration of Irish culture on or around March 17. It particularly remembers St. Patrick, one of the Ireland's patron saint who ministered Christianity in Ireland during the 5th century. St. Patrick's Day is celebrated in countries with the people of Irish descent.
Now in entertainment, Leyna Bloom graces the pages of Sports Illustrated, making her the first Black Asian Filipino-American transgender model to be featured in the magazine. Leyna is best known for her work in the feature film Port Authority that was shown at the Cannes Film Festival in 2019. But many remember her well for her activism, one of which is her campaign to be cast as the first trans woman to walk the Victoria's Secret fashion show that went viral in 2018. The swimwear spread featuring Leyna is another progressive step taken by the magazine toward equality and diversity. Last 2020, Sports Illustrated swimsuit also presented Brazilian model Valentina Sampaio as the first transgender model to appear in the magazine. In a statement, Leyna said that she feels so lucky to be a part of something that is rooted in change and acceptance, and that is not just being beautiful, but being beautiful with a powerful message. In sports, Jordan Clarkson took to social media his support against racial discrimination following the increasing hate attacks happening in the United States. Clarkson, who is of Filipino-American heritage from his mother's side, posted on Twitter, #StopAsianHate, which already garnered 3,000 retweets and 16,000 likes. This after it was reported that a 21-year-old man described as a sex addict killed 8 people, mostly women of Asian origin, in spas in Atlantic City. This is just one of the attacks that thrust the spotlight onto a spike in violence targeting Asian Americans in what activists believe were fueled by talk of the Chinese virus by former President Donald Trump and others. NBA superstar Lebron James also shared his sentiments on social media, extending his condolences to the families of all the victims and the entire Asian community, and that what transpired in Atlanta is senseless and tragic. Filipino-American pole vaulter Natalie Uy also shared her thoughts about the shooting in a Facebook post, saying that the incident struck her close as she is currently in the same city. She also added that no matter what, she will always be proud to be a nation and will not let this taint how amazing it is to be a Filipino American. And those are the news on web today, March 18, 2021. For more news and details, get your copy of Manila Bulletin newspaper tomorrow or log on to www.mb.com.ph. You may also subscribe to our newsletter through the link on this video's caption to have the day's latest news delivered to your inbox. I am Barbie Atienza for Manila Bulletin. Join us again tomorrow. This has been MB Now. Be fully informed.